Good evening from La Mata in Spain. Is my pension enough to retire in the Philippines? It's something that's brought up quite regularly. And I would have to say you have to assess exactly what you want out of your life in the Philippines and what you're going to do in your retirement. Um, I mean, the first thing is how much is your pension? Because a lot of people may have some other bits and pieces that collectively become a pension. I mean, for example, if you've got your social security, or whatever, the SS thing, or you in the UK, it's the old state pension, but you may have a work pension, military pension, and other contributions that combined become your overall budget. It's also worth having some money aside so that if you do have something, for example, if you've got some money in an old work pension, you don't spend it, you invest it or something. So it builds up a little bit of extra money as you're going, so that you're always having some extra funds available. That's an important thing. Exactly how much money have you got? Because you start from there and then you start looking at, does it match the lifestyle that you need? Um, for example, um, if you estimate your cost of living in the Philippines, how much is it going to be? Are you thinking, do I need a car? Do I need a motorbike? Do I need a condo? Do I need a two-bed apartment? Do I need a house? Working out exactly what you're going to spend your money on. Because what I found over time is you do start expanding out. You start off with, I can do without aircon. And then you get the old summer heat come in, well, the old dry season. And then suddenly you think, it's about time to get some aircon. So your bills go from, like, say, 300-400 pesos a month to 1,500 to 2,000 pesos a month. So those sort of things you've got to factor in as you're going along. Your cost of living. So be realistic with it. I know it's all right saying, "Well, I don't need it. I don't need it." You've got to assess: is it stuff you need, or is it stuff that you just want, or do you like? So, like, aircon may not be on your long-term list at the moment, but after you spent a bit of time, you might actually like it in there. Hi, Tim. Tim Rogers joins us. Night, Matt. Yeah. Well, the kids are just going to bed, so it gives me a bit of time to do this. And I've been working on some other stuff today. We're off to the immigration office tomorrow as well, so we're really busy out here in Spain at the minute. Um, yeah, the other thing with this is making sure you've got an emergency fund. I was talking to somebody earlier today about this because one of the problems you get is you make people aware that, you got to be careful if something goes wrong. You got some backup money. Tim Rogers, I've been up since 4 a.m. Yeah, I wasn't up that early today. I got up with the kids, but at the same time with it, off to the bank. We're out having some lobster today. Actually, there's another video on the Alicante channel where we went out for dinner. Cost me a few euros today, but a few people have asked, do I eat Spanish food? So I did a video to show them I do. But what was I saying? Emergency fund. Emergency fund allows you to go home. For example, say you had a medical emergency, you wanted to go back to the West because you've already got, say, healthcare that is already covered. You may actually try to go back to the West. And if you haven't banked even enough for a flight, you could be in some serious problems. In the same way, if a typhoon hits and wipes everything you own out, it would be nice to be able to go back with an emergency fund just to get you started again. Because it's one of the things I do say to people: if you're struggling and do have some problems, you can always go home, go back to the West, make some money. It's easier to make money in the West, even if it's working in McDonald's or something. The rates are going to be higher than you'll be able to find in the Philippines unless you're running some small businesses. So yeah, you've got to factor those things in. And the medical cover is the next one. Having some form of medical cover. I've seen people lose everything. Literally, they've had to sell the house, the car, and then died anyway. They've had a stroke, and basically it's gone on from that. They've had to deal with the medical costs, the ongoing costs, and it's just drained them financially till there's nothing left because they had zero medical cover. And I've also, but one of the conversations comes up today was about some of the people that just think, "Ah, I'll be fine. It won't happen to me." It, it happens to everybody. It's we're not immortal. The malunggay in the Philippines does give you some good health, but it doesn't mean it's going to keep you alive. That's something you got to bear in mind. It's not a miracle cure. It's one of those herbs that's good for you. It ain't going to sort you out if you have a car accident or something, and that's why it's important that you have some good medical cover. Um, yeah, I've got the emergency fund. And one of the things I would say, if you actually got a home back in the West, it is worth keeping it and renting it out. Because the thing with renting it out is a steady stream of cash coming your way, which will keep your head above water. Um, and it also means, I mean, I know what's his name, Chris Wren rents his place out in the UK, and it's a steady income stream. But also means that the property in the UK is also it's a long term asset, because one of the problems some people do have when they decide to go back, if they do decide to go back, is property prices have gone up. And although they sold everything when they went to the Philippines, they now can't afford to buy property where they came from. So that's why I'll just say try and avoid selling property unless you have to, because it's an asset. It is something that if you've worked all your life and paid for, it's a pity to sell the thing, because you've already earned it. I know some people put a budget. I've got a budget for 10 years and I'm just going to utilize that. I don't care anymore. I don't care what happens. But sometimes you live longer than that. And then we'll get on to something else, which is relationships. And this sort of combines this, because a lot of guys go to the Philippines and they have no thought of how far the relationships go. Do you actually plan further ahead than you popping your clogs in 10, 15 years time? And one of the things is the person you're with. Obviously everybody gets in a relationship of some description. And then it's a case of putting a bit of planning in for that relationship. But then some people then have children as well, and then children complicate things even further because children are expensive. Because you've got your medical costs, education costs, general living costs. Because like for the school runs and stuff like that, if you're in private school, you've often got people taking the kids to school and bringing them back. There's a lot of extra costs that may not have been in your original budget, so it's something to be aware of. Mike M, hi Matt, like your channel. What is good amount to have in reserve for medical emergency funds for the PH? It all depends. I mean, in all honesty, if you're going to be there long term, I would seriously look at healthcare cover. I've seen people go through 2.5 million pesos. No joke, 2.5 million they've gone through in like no time. They've had heart issues, and it's been the preliminary costs of getting into the hospital, getting the initial one. They may need some heart surgery, but also they then got the ongoing recovery costs as well. So yeah, you can get through millions of pesos. It's something that's a problem. Financially, it's a problem. Medical cover is quite expensive. I know some people go, "Oh, it's cheap." It is until you get something serious. That's the thing. So I would say just factor it in. What is a good insurance company for coverage? Says Mike M. The Blue Cross is one that flags up a lot with people. A lot of people keep bringing that one up. So I'd recommend taking a look at it and see what they can offer. I've got some paperwork from them I can send over if anybody wants the leaflets and stuff. I'm not on commission or anything. It's just that somebody has seen us on the show on this YouTube channel and sent all the documentation. I can send you all that in an email. I won't cover it on the blog. On the vlog, because obviously it's just reading out of the leaflets and stuff. But I can send you them. You can email me at probably the easiest one is Matt with 2 T's at expatservices.es. .es is because we're in Spain. But yeah, if you want insurance stuff, I can send it to you. I can give you an agent to talk to, and they can do all that with you. Like I says, I'm not involved. They just give me the information. I'll send it out to you, and you can get an idea of how much it's going to cost and what they cover. That's an important thing, what they cover, because even here in Spain, it's a bit of a hot topic relating to immigration, because even having medical cover, they may not cover long-term illnesses. So you could have cover for this year and then suddenly go, oh, well, that's not covered, and then they don't cover you. So those sort of things can be a problem here in Spain, because the immigration, you can get private health care and they go, well, that's not good enough for what we need. It's got to cover at least what you would get as a Spanish citizen. So yeah, the small print's an important one. But like I said, Blue Cross is one that people have used, and it's changed name to something else, Blue. But yeah, just email me. I'll send those details over to you. Yeah, children. Yeah, children can be an expensive cost because of an ongoing cost. And I know a lot of guys go to retire at the Philippines. They don't even think about it. You know, they weren't planning on having kids, but these things happen. And when they do, then obviously you've got to factor in that you've got these extra costs, and then you may have to adapt your entire lifestyle to accommodate the cost of having kids, putting them through school. Also, you may need a bigger property, which means your running costs have gone up as well. And that then affects your original budget. So these things need to be factored in all the way along. The other thing I would say is hobbies. No problem, Mike. Yeah, Mike says thank you. No problem. I'm glad to help people. I know I push health insurance a lot, and I get a lot of flack from expats sometimes. But I've seen a few people not being here anymore because they don't have medical insurance. Let's put it that way. They couldn't get the best cover possible because, quite simply, they couldn't afford it, and that's why I push medical cover as really important. Yeah, hobbies in the Philippines. A lot of people need hobbies, and a lot of people need to factor in some cost for hobbies, because I know some people think I'm going to build a boat, I'm going to do this, going to do that. I think sometimes you have to be realistic if you're going to do it. I mean, like a boat, I would recommend getting a boat between, say, 6 people, because you're not going to use it all the time. And between 6 people, A, you can get it built and finished, but B, it's going to get used and shared by everybody. It's got a steady cost. You know, it's not eating money out your pocket all the time, because it's not as expensive if you share it. I know some of my friends up on Mactan, they have their own banker for scuba diving. They bought it between them. They had it built for them, and that's not too expensive because they bought it outright. You know, at the end of the day, it's their boat, and it's become very, very what do you call it? Viable. You know, they could actually rent it out to other people if they wanted to. Norwegian Polar Bear, a finance advisor said once to me, eight times your yearly salary saved up for pension for one person. Um, yeah, what's that? Yeah, I mean, I suppose you have to factor it. It all comes down to lifestyle as well, though. This is why we get. There's so many disputes where people go, you need this. Yeah, you know. So, I mean, I know some people are living on 400 $400 a month. And I know other people that are living on way more, way more. But I mean, they got huge houses and stuff. But this is the thing: there's so many extremes in the Philippines with expats, because of the different people have different amounts of money. They have different ways of living. They're, like say for example, Barry Jordan. Barry Jordan's just got a little bamboo type hut on Bohol. Now, for me, I could do that for a while as a novelty thing, but I couldn't live there long term. And I've got too much equipment to leave it in something that could be so easily broken into. But at the same time, would you want to live like that? Well, Barry's all right with it, but myself, it's not my lifestyle. And this is why the costs go up and down, and people go, I can live on less than that. I need more than that. It's because everybody lives differently. I think that's the important thing. But like you're saying, 8 times your yearly salary saved up for a pension for one person. Eight times your yearly salary saved up for what pension for one person. Yeah, you've got to have some set aside. And that's why it's always best to start now. If you haven't got backup money, it's worth investing in yourself today. Starting today to get some money together. But like I say, when people are arguing about I can live on this or whatever, that's fine. Nobody's disputing that. But my personal view is $500 is what I'd recommend as a minimum. Vegan MG Tao, how much do you spend? My expenditure goes up and down depending on what I'm doing. I mean, today we spent €65 on lunch, so um, it's it just depends how we're feeling. But we have a lot more cash available, so we spend when we spend, and we don't eat out all the time, but when we do eat out, we do like to spend it on good stuff. My chem is $4,000 a month, enough for a family of five to live in the Philippines, two adults, three kids. The answer is yes, it is possible to live on that, but I would say it also depends on the kids' education, because private education can be quite expensive. If they're going to the local schools, and there's different levels of schooling in the Philippines, you have to take a look at the different types of schooling. Like the public schools, they're not the best, but they're free. But then you go to a next level, it's like anyway, you get private schools that go from like a reasonable cost one to an expensive one. Where you're going into um, more of a influential, expensive school because they like to keep it expensive for status. Yeah, so private schools, I mean, some of them cost like $16,000 a year. But some of the other ones can cost just about 5,000 pesos. Yeah, I'd say from anywhere from 5,000 pesos to 50,000 pesos a month, depending on what school it is, where it is, what type of schooling they're doing. It can vary considerably. So it is worth, if you know a specific area, just looking into it, because a lot of the stuff that follows on with the school is you get on at the right school, helps you get into the right college, which helps you get into the right job later on. Um, it's the same the world over. That's why I say it's worth looking at. I mean, my daughter in the UK went to a school where the majority of the people there, their kids there, sorry, are very influential in that county, because they're fairly wealthy people, but not just wealthy, influential. And we actually went our way to make sure she got in that school, because I know the friend she makes there is like long term, and the networking as a child is beneficial as an adult. Um, yeah, schools is one of those things. It's so broad. It could be an entire subject on its own. But there is also scholarships as well. I mean, they do like for basketball and stuff, and you have to look at them because there is some sponsorship and scholarships programs as well. But I'm not sure how that would affect if you're coming from outside the Philippines. I mean, unless you were actually a top of the league basketball type player, I'm not sure how easy it would be get into one of those. Another thing you've got to factor in is transition period, and like you're saying with the schools, you go to the Philippines, you've got your initial setup, you've got your refrigerator, your furniture, you're getting a vehicle if you need a vehicle, sorting the house out, sorting the schools out, basically having a fund for when you initially arrive, so that you've got everything that you need. Not what you want, but what you need, and then later on you get what you want. Over time, because like us, we started off with a little yellow scooter because we only needed a little yellow scooter to get backwards and forwards. We just got rid of our 4x4 last week because nobody look after it now. But we ended up with a 4x4, brand new motorbike, and we still got the yellow scooter kicking about somewhere. But you adapt over time. But Mike, I figure 10,000 startup costs. All depends on the setup. If you're because a lot of expats are in 1 2 bedroom apartments where 10,000 is more than enough, or it's way more than enough. But if you're getting a, say, a 4 bedroom house or something, it could be because, if you decide to have air conditioning in 3 bedrooms in the sitting room, etc., that'll run up a few pesos. Yeah, so yeah, it all depends on the lifestyle setup. But yeah, I mean, you need to look at the size of the house, and then what I would do is just get on the website for like Cebu Appliance. What's the other one? The SM do one as well, don't they? What's that one called? Yeah, SM City Appliance as well. You can get an idea of the costs. They're normally a little bit more expensive on the websites, from what I remember as well. Yeah, so Mike M, 3 bedrooms plus house and lot. Yeah, but if it's in a subdivision as well, then the cost of actually getting it and the rents are a bit higher. I'd be up in Pampanga. Yeah, I've got a friend up there. Ray does call centers up in Pampanga. Um, yeah, you've got to research it because a lot of time there's opportunities there. If you're going to rent, then look around. If you're going to buy, look around because you'll find agents stick premiums and all sorts on things. Where if you spend a bit more time searching around, you might find you get a better deal. It's just like here in Spain with Igor with his apartment. He got it 30,000 euros cheaper than one of a similar size in the next block, purely by just finding somebody direct. The other thing you've got to factor in, why the Philippines? Is there other alternatives for you? Is there other places that, if you're from America, for example, that cover the healthcare? Um, because I think Panama, I think you're entitled to free healthcare there. So there's a lot of things you've got to factor in. Why the Philippines? Is it because you're looking for a new partner? Is it because you like it there specifically? Or is it worth, before you go to retirement, having a shop around in other countries as well? You know, if you've got 10 years to retirement or 5 years, it may pay to actually go and visit some other countries and get a feel for it because some other countries can be a lot cheaper. The Philippines cost of living is increasing. So that's something to look at. Is there other alternatives out there that may be a better deal? Because I know there's a guy I know in Venezuela. His running costs on electric, for example, on electric is phenomenally cheap. It's ridiculous his cost of living there. It's nothing. Although it is quite a risky area and he is a bit out in the boondocks, but at the same time, it is something to be aware of. My parents live there. My wife wants to go back. I get to keep my job from the USA and retain my salary. Well, there you go. You've already got a setup. Now, you're already in a better position than a lot of people that are retiring in the Philippines, in the sense that your salary is likely to be more than a lot of people's pensions. So yeah, if you've got that set up, I'm sure you'll be fine. I mean, if your parents are there as well, are you going to be looking at developing the same lot, the same compound as your parents, or are you going to set up in a new subdivision or something? Because that's the other thing. I mean, I find that depending who you're married to or the families, etc., there's often land within the families as well, which often can make things a bit cheaper because the construction costs can be pretty cheap. And then when you build your property, you may have to give the family a bit of cash every now and again, but at the same time, it still works out cheaper than renting a place or buying something in a subdivision. Another thing to factor in, which it will still affect you, Mike, is exchange rates and transfer fees. I use TransferWise a lot. I mean, a ridiculous amount of times. I mean, coming out of the UK to Spain, it's used on a regular basis, and always use it for like with the family emergencies, we might send some stuff out from Spain to the Philippines. Always find what I like about TransferWise is A, it's not too expensive, but B, they track it. So when you open it up and go, I'm sending some money, you'll get an email saying, we know you're sending some money, we're waiting for your money to hit the bank. And once they receive it, they send you another email saying your money has been received, and then another one saying it's now on its way, and then another one to say it's been delivered at the other end. So I do like TransferWise for that. Also, I think you can set the rates for when they send it as well. So you could actually leave some money in there till the rates are right, which is another reason for having some spare money is with the exchange rates. If they're fluctuating like now with the Brexit, it's just brought the pound back down again. Um, you could actually just wait for it to rise up again if you've got enough money in the bank. And as soon as it sends, the money's already sat there and it's gone. It sends it as soon as it's hit that level. So transfer wise is, I find that very good for that sort of stuff. Exchange rates. I mean, the euro and pound, I think, is down by about 15% in the last year. That's so. I mean, imagine that's on your pension. That's 15% off your money. Because if you're receiving that money and the exchange rates have moved, you've got 15% less in pesos than you had. Now I know I'm on about the pound here, but the peso's been doing pretty well as well, or pretty bad, depending how you look at it. But you know, you're not getting um, as much money as you would have got 12 months ago. Norwegian polar bear. Venezuela is broken down and out. Hard to even get bread there nowadays, according to news. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But the thing is, I know where he's living. He's doing pretty well because the costs are right down. There's a lot of corruption issues in Venezuela at the moment, which is its biggest problem. If it sorted them out, I think it could sort most of its issues out quite quickly. Um, but that's what I'm saying. There's also, you got Venezuela, Panama, and there's a lot of other countries around which may offer a cheaper alternative to the Philippines. I'm not saying people should move. I'm just saying that it's worth looking around to see what options you've got. I know myself, I want to travel around South America and, well, all over the place, basically. So for myself, I love the Philippines, but at the same time, there's plenty of places in the world I haven't been yet. Norwegian polar bear, they got hit by lower oil prices. Yeah, a lot of places did. And I mean, the thing is, the Middle East isn't as nice as it was, although that's debatable. It depends how you look at it. But yeah, because I know when I was out in Oman, when the oil price is at its peak, they're taking about $100 million a day. That's how much they're transferring oil prices. So you have to be aware that, when they decide to start doing fracking and stuff, the it has detrimental effects on countries that rely on oil exports. Qatar was having to sell a lot of its property portfolio in London, for example, because although they're oil-rich countries as such, they still have healthcare and other stuff that still needs state money. And they got adversely affected with the oil prices as well. Peter Ruse, hello, Matt. I to see you there. Good to see you, Peter. How's it going? Yeah, and the other thing is, I want to add this one in at the end of this short podcast tonight. Need, like, and want. They're three different things, and this is where I think some of the arguments start with people, because what happens is you have your need list, and I say write this down on a bit of paper, because you start off with your need. You need to have food on your table, roof over your head, and the absolute basics. And then you start going, well, I don't want fans, but I'd like aircon. Then you can put that down, and you can sit and work out exactly how much things are going to cost you. And I know you're going to get some variables in there, but you're trying to get as close as possible before you go to the Philippines to exactly how much things are going to cost. I've mentioned before about factoring in the 30% increase and making some money in the Philippines because of things like the fluctuations in the stock exchanges and the financial markets. With factoring it in local income, it means that, for example, if you had, say, a few peso machines selling water and got computer games or something, just as an example, it's paid in local income. So that could keep paying your electric bill, your water bill, etc., ongoing. because it doesn't get affected by the exchange rates because it's local currency. That's why I concentrate on making money in like the Philippines and try to leave the money there. I try to make money in the UK and leave it there, and try to make money in Spain. I try to separate them because it saves on moving money unless you have to. Peter Roos, hello, Matt. Yeah, have I watched a video from Subic Bay? Um, Subic Bay is not one I've been up to. I've been up to Subic Bay, have we? No, no, it's not an area we've been into. No, I can't really comment on that. If you send me the link, I'll have a look. I'll get back to you on it. Norwegian polar bear. It's always better to have more money than you need instead of needing money you don't have. Exactly, and that's why one of the things I always do, like when we move to Spain, I limit the costs. I basically start with the basics, moving to the country. It's like now we're in Spain and we're almost through the immigration process. I'll start spending more money. I'll be honest with you. We're already looking at what we're going to be doing over the next 5 years. Because quite simply, once the immigration stuff is done and dusted, 100%, April can work. And just if April works, she can earn enough to pay all the bills for the whole house on her own. I mean, that's the thing in this area, because of the minimum wages sort of thing. It's very easy to actually, because you're either on minimum wage or more, and the minimum wage you can pretty much get one person pay all the bills, which is a good thing on this bit of the coast. It's not easy to find work, fair enough, but April already speaks Spanish and English anyway, so she's halfway there on finding work because it puts her ahead of about 90% of the Brits, that's for sure. Yeah, but yeah, Subic Bay I can't really comment on. I haven't really looked into it because I'm more Cebu side. I concentrate mainly on that area. You find different areas have different setups, different costs of living. It's like a friend Andrew lives in Makati. His cost of living is a lot more in there than it is for what it cost me in Cebu, because obviously he's in the business district, etc. So you have to take all these things and factor it in, and that's probably a good point, Peter, though, because depending where you're going will have different costs. I found Negros Oriental cheaper by about 30%. I think it was at least 15 to 30% cheaper than Cebu. And there's certain things. I think there's some areas that had free electric as well. Some of the areas near the power plants had free electric. So there is other stuff that you can find out. If you're looking around, there is some favorable areas to live in if you've got a limited budget but not too fussed on where you're living. There is other things around that may be a benefit. Like I'm saying, right location there, free electric for everybody, or at least they're going to pay a percentage of it due to where the location of the power plant. Yeah, but I would say that's the main things that you need to bear in mind when looking to retire in the Philippines. And also, like I said, with the emergency exit fund, that's important because in case you have any problems, you can always head back west, sort things out, and then come back. That's one thing I would say to people. Always remember, you can go back to the west and come back to the Philippines. And like Norwegian polar bear's point is, it's always better to have more money than you need instead of needing money you don't have. Some people get into the situation where they just hang on. They've spent all their money and they try to hang on, hoping some miracle will happen to sort out their finances. Much better to get the plane ticket, head back to the west, make some money, and come back in 6 months, because you can keep doing that. Well, one thing about the Philippines is once you've got it set up, it's not expensive. Every time you go back, you've got more knowledge, you've got more experience, and you can understand the country better and how it functions, how it works, but also you know how to adapt to the environment. So you can, you go there the first time, you're in holiday mode. You go there the second time, you're starting to look around for a property or whatever. By the time you go at your fifth time, you're getting relatives to pick you up from the airport instead of getting a taxi. And you work a way that's A, much cheaper, but B, you're starting to get the lifestyle and choices that you really want. And more importantly, you can also afford them. I'm going to cut this one off short today, but thanks for everybody joining us. And any quick questions relating to, is my pension enough to retire in the Philippines before I change? Well, I cut this one off because got a busy day tomorrow. So I just thought I'd do this quick one because there's been a few people talking about the budgets today, and that's why I thought I'll do a quick video on it. Well, podcast, because obviously my video is not that good with the internet. I suppose that's another thing to factor in. Internet. If you're going to be working from home, make sure you get a location with good internet. Check with the people in the area, check with the neighbors, because they'll already know which ones are good and which one's bad because they've probably had experiences with at least two of them. But thanks for everybody joining, and have a great evening, good morning, or good afternoon.